Hello, it's the Late Bloomers Corner where we kind of try and write our own rules to living life. I'm Rifue. So I haven't been here for a while because I have been working on myself, particularly in finding my own identity in this space. Because there's so many people talking about so many different things. I just needed to find where I land naturally, where my curiosity is, what resonates with my spirit. And, I think one of the biggest things that I had to embrace is that I absolutely believe in the Bible in a mystic way, metaphysical way. I enjoy the parables. I mean, it's a whole giant book of parables, which tell us about ourselves. And I've always been very, because I grew up Christian, and I've always rejected the ideology in the church as we know it. But I've always leaned into the Bible for a lot of the things that I know when it comes to God and manifestation, and I mean a lot of things. It's just that, so for now I wanted to share something that I discovered that I think is beautiful for myself, because I rejected doing a lot of things for a long time, and things like using crystals. I once had a, what you would say, a download from Mother Earth about how we're using crystals. And no, she wasn't saying we mustn't use them, but she doesn't like how we use them because we are taking things that some crystals we shouldn't be digging out the ground. We should just be absorbing the energy from where they are. But it's okay, to each their own. It's just that once I moved away from using crystals, then I was like, okay, then what do I do? Like, and I've always had an understanding that my body is also whatever's on this earth, my body carries it too. So, we speak of chakras. I mean, those are where, my crystals are my chakras, for example. And it's just about learning how to, what's the word? Induce, invoke that energy when I need it, right? So I've always understood that, and I was just like lost for a little while about how I get my body to that place. And it's always been there. The information has always been there. It's just that I didn't take it that way because of the way I was taught the information. So I'm back to that information, like, okay, now I get it. So I want to talk a little bit about the field, right? This energetic field that we all have, which is why they always say ground yourself in nature. Go put your feet in nature and absorb, absorb the energy of the earth, and let the earth absorb your energy, and just have a beautiful exchange. Now, I've always wanted to know, like, yeah, even if I do that, but how do I make it work for me? Because I know that everything that is on this earth is there to support me, right? And I to support it, right? So how do we do that? So I came across an idea around field activation, right? And this was for me. How I got to the field activation is because I'm generally a very good manifester. Like, I know how to get the one. But what I've noticed about myself is that I don't know how to sustain the things that I have. So in other words, even if I have a car, then I don't have fuel, or I can't take it for service. So I don't have sustaining power, or what, if you want to call it that. So I had to go through the process of discovering, like, what is it, girl? Like, what's going on with you? And I came across the idea of field activation. Now, how did I get to this idea? I understand that time works horizontally, but when you're in the space of manifestation, it has to work vertically, right? And I said, but God, I can see that the people who do the vertical thing, like go to school, varsity, and build their career, for example, people like that, I'm like, they get to a point where they can sustain the big numbers, the big monies, the big whatever. And then I'm like, and then you get, and I said, and I know that I'm not like that. I've never had that kind of horizontal sustainability out. It's just when I don't like something, I leave it, right? And I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's just an observation that I made. So I said, right, I am here now, and I am realizing that I don't have the resilience that I need, in terms of that kind of discipline. What do I do then? Like, what do I do to make my system catch up with me? Because clearly this is a system thing. Your body needs time to what's the word, to create, to be able to hold what it is you're trying to give it, which is why, when people win the lottery, most of them lose it because their nervous system can't hold that they can have that kind of money. So they just spend because they can't think of money that way. You know what I mean? So I came across the field activation. I'm going to read a little bit, but for the most part, I've explained what it is, right? So for me, it's about me understanding, because I wanted to understand divine law. I wanted to understand divine order. I was like, what the hell is that? And I said, because I said, I can see that I used one aspect of it, but there's so many, and there are too many. And I said, how do I then, like, do it all in one go? Like, and that's when I came to the field activation. And what this for me was, it's about what, Florence Scovel Schönberg called divine law, what the priesthood of Melchizedek was about, and what Job discovered when all outer forms collapsed. So Job is a very important figure, story or parable when it comes to learning about the journey of the soul. He's very important. In fact, I do feel that the Alchemist is they they is the stories are similar in terms of what it is you must get out of those two stories. Um, so what is the field? So the field is a space of divine order. It's an invisible pattern that holds everything in coherence. It's what Jesus meant when he said the kingdom of God is within you. When you activate this field, you aren't calling something new into existence. You are now tuning your mind, your body, and spirit back to a pattern that already exists, right? So, in other words, you are aligning your mind, body, and spirit back to yourself, back to your center, so that it's all in the kingdom, right? So, it's not saying that you are not in the kingdom right now, but I'm saying that I'm not aligned fully with my kingdom, consciously with my kingdom. Okay. So, one of my favorite lines that I do now when I do these field activations, the one line, it says, divine law is established in me, right? Like divine law is established in me. So I'm saying law of attraction, law of karma, law, all of them under divinity are established in me, right? And this is a vibration that would recognize everything around me. Okay, so what I realize is that you have to get into, once you align into your field, once you which align with your mind, body, and spirit, is when you can declare, right? And I'm not saying it happens like that all the time. I'm saying in the beginning, when you are training yourself, the techniques I'm going to share with you now are things that will help you, right, to align your body. And you will see that these are things that the church has been preaching, Buddha, all of them have been preaching, but I didn't quite understand what they were doing, but now I understand it. So what she did is that when you do these field activations, you are holding space. You are grounding yourself and expanding your space, so that by the time you get that unction, you get that feeling to speak and declare and decree, right? You are coming from a place from your kingdom authority, right? You are coming from, yeah, I think that's the best way to explain it, is your kingdom authority. Okay. So why in this instance? Because one of the things I battled with was rituals. I was like, why do people do rituals, etc.? But then I realized, but going to school is a ritual. I'm going to singing class and performing, and it's a ritual. It's a steady way for you to grow in a specific thing. So for me, I used to look at rituals in a very weird way, but that's what I've realized, that it's just a steady way to grow and strengthen you, right? So, in the early stages of spiritual energetic awakening, the human system still needs handles. And these are rituals, right? You can light candles, speak affirmations, you can fast and write decrees, because these are all things to help. It's a form of self devotion so that you are able to do the things in terms of your spiritual awakening. Is that these rituals help you hold on, right? So if I light a candle, I know it's going to get me in that space. If I do an affirmation, I know it's going to get me in that space. So that's what it's all there to serve you. It's not there to do anything, it's there to serve you in helping you remember yourself so that you are then able to declare from within, right? So, what rituals do is that it teaches your body to trust, right? So, look at things like going to grade one, grade two, till matric. So, all those steps are so that you can, at every level, you are growing to trust yourself, growing to trust how you think, growing to trust how you like now when you study to be a doctor, like it's a process. In the beginning you have no idea what you're doing, but by the time you finish you have a strong idea on what to do. So this is, it's ritual. That's a ritual. It's a process to develop yourself and trust yourself with what you are doing, right? So it's the same thing here with these rituals, is that it's a way for you to start to trust yourself. Okay. Right. So what it does, one of the things that it does is that once you trust yourself, this is the beauty of it, is that once you trust yourself, then you know how to know. Then you know yourself, right? So what you are doing is, when you trust yourself, when you know yourself, then your field becomes stable. And when it's stable, you are able to expand it at will and shrink it at will, right? So all these things teach you, is these little rituals is to teach you to get to a place where you are able to expand it at will and you're able to shrink it at will, right? So when you look at people like Scoville Shin, you look at people like Abdullah, like Neville's Abdullah, these are people who had mastered that part of themselves, right? Is they knew how to always be in the field. They knew, and Neville got it as well. They knew how to see in the field. That's why Neville says you'll meet Christ, because he learned how to see like in the Christ, with the Christ eye, because his field was able to do that. He had cracked through his field. I know they tell us about all that water and stuff, which is also true. I'm just sharing a different way to looking at it. Okay. So Scoville Shin used these rituals, and her rituals were her words. She did use affirmations. She used her writing, and as her way of centering herself, right? We also see that Esther in the Bible did the same thing too. She fasted and prepared before stepping into what she needed to do. So again, they are very similar in that with Esther, she showed us the process of how she got there, but her and Scoville Shin do exactly the same thing. They speak, right? But they speak when it is time to speak, right? And then these are what we would call like acts of agreement, right? So let's say that's why they always say you have to be so decisive. So let's say you want a car, and you say, I want a blue Mercedes Benz, right? For like, then when you are in your field, you do your field work, and divine law is established in me, and then you say, I'm so grateful for my blue Mercedes Benz, for example. And you're like, yeah, I've got a blue Mercedes Benz. Then maybe you get a statement from your bank, and the statement is like, girl, um, you earn 20,000 rand, you can't afford a Mercedes Benz. Now, if you are in your field, you'll be able to say, yeah, even though that's what it says, me, I have a blue Mercedes Benz, and I'm so grateful for my blue Mercedes Benz. Now, you need to have the capacity to do that. And that's what field work does, is it helps you build the capacity to say no to what your reality says until the reality you want can come. Um, I will go into the Job story another day, but it's very important in this scenario. Okay, so then we speak of discipline as the bridge to mastery, right? So discipline is just repetition for you to remember. It's all there to serve you in remembering that you need to align, in remembering what you are trying to achieve. So I'm trying to achieve that I am established in I am now I am established in divine order, or divine order is established in me now. Divine order is now established in me, right? So that I can remember that, okay, divine, and I can feel it, I can embrace it, I can embody it. That's what it is. That's the point of discipline. So every time you return to your decree, every time you breathe instead of reacting, you are training your field. You are retraining your field. Neville Goddard called this persistence in the assumption, right? Scovishin called it standing firm, and Job called it faith in the unseen. So, excuse me. Whew. Yeah, in the unseen. So, discipline gives you the ability to contain, it expands your container so that in those moments when everything else is saying otherwise, you are able to hold firm without anxiety, without panic, without fear, right? Because you are grounded. You are able to hold firm to the ideas that you are trying to manifest, and more than manifest, trying to sustain, right? Let's keep it going. So, what you want is that for your field to become stable so that it's stable enough to hold the miracles that you want. So what I realized is that I got the house and then was like, oh, because I wasn't stable in being persistent in my assumption, right? So yeah, let's continue. So the priesthood of Melchizedek for me is, for me represents an order that never dies. Okay. I'll go into it another day, or another time. So yeah, we'll go into Melchizedek another time, but part of the Melchizedek priesthood, Mother Earth is part of that. The, the planets are part of that. Jesus was part of that. Um, these are all beings, or these are frequencies that are there to serve us. But we'll go into that another day. Because these are all things that support us in creating, in manifesting and all that stuff. So, which is why, even praying to Jesus isn't a bad thing, because he's a support to help you hold your field. Because he is one of those priests. But we won't get into that. Okay. So, the whole point of the priesthood of Melchizedek is just um, understanding that everything is there to support you, right? These are energies that are all around you and me, and they're all there to support you. So everything is there to support you. In other words, everything is there to support what you desire, right? Your desire is a promise from God to say, so when you desire, like, oh my God, I really want a blue Mercedes Benz, that was put into your heart as a promise. And what what people like Jesus do is that they act as a support for you, in terms of holding that space with you. You can do that with a living priest or a living whatever, like how you go to church for prayer. Jesus works in the same way. I just haven't learned how to use Jesus because I've got a resistance, but I do understand his role in the field. Okay. Right. So how do you start practicing this field activation? So this is my way that I'm going to share with you. What I do, I will do the breathing. Whew, we always yawn when we breathe. And then I will say, divine law is now established in me. And I will breathe, right? And then I will say, to anchor it, I will say, I am the field in motion and I walk in divine right timing, in my divine right timing. And I just sit in that. Okay? Right. Then I just sit, I'll probably sit for like 10 minutes, not even 1 minute, 5 minutes, depending on where I'm at, because I need to allow myself to kind of embody what that is, right? Oh, sorry, my energy is just going down. I'm hungry. I've been fasting and I'm like, oh my God, I want food. So then what I'll do to close that, I will say, um, discipline shapes power and stillness reveals the field. And I am the embodiment of divine law. And divine law works in my favor. Okay? Okay. And that's it. You don't need to do so much more. So this is just something for you to sit with so that you can, when I do that line of divine law, it's because I'm saying all of it. So maybe make time to learn these laws. I don't know. But look, I have the Christ within. That is divine law, right? And as I speak, so shall it be, right? So I speak life, I choose life. And you just continue that way. Okay, I promise you next time I'm going to have better energy and I'll be better prepared. But I felt like I wanted to share this one with you about the field activation. I will go into the story of Job in more detail at a later stage. But the whole point of this field activation is that you are manifesting every day. You are doing the affirmations every day. So it's happening. It's just that if you can't hold it, it kind of like slips through the cracks, and then you don't get to experience it for yourself. So this field activation is to teach yourself to be grounded, right? And maybe some of you meditate. You can also, you can do it however you want. But the point being that you have to get your body and mind in position. Let's put it that way. In position for you to be able to hold what you want, for you to be able to be a magician, for example, because Jesus was a great magician and he had to go fast for 40 days and 40 nights to get to the status of magician where he could turn water into wine. I know there are metaphysical interpretations of that, but it can literally happen as well. There are some things that can literally happen that are in the Bible that everyone will say, no, it's a parable. No, some of them can be done. And we've seen it. We've seen some of these things. So getting yourself into a grounded state and being able to sustain this grounded state will give you the ability to also sustain it when things actually come for you, like the good that you want in your life, right? And because that's why the story of Job is so important, because Job was a great manifester, but he didn't know how to sustain it, which is why he always used to worry about it. And that's why he lost it all, because he didn't know how to keep it. And he had to teach himself with those 3 friends that came. Those are all part of his psyche. He had to teach them, right, to shush. Because he has faith in God. He had faith in the kingdom. So he was building his field when he would tell them to shush. So even with you, like when you building your field, those voices are going to come and be like, but you still have to pay bills. You still, like, you tell them shush. Okay? And how you build the strength to keep them quiet is that you built your field. You built your field, right? So I don't know if this will help. It was long and my energy is so low. Oh my God. But I hope it helps somehow. And then I will share more. I think today I wanted to share. That's why I didn't even put on makeup. I don't think I even comb my hair, but I don't really comb my hair. That's just something about me. I don't comb my hair. Um, Hope just get it out to start doing these videos again, because I stopped completely because I got lost. After I got my house, I got lost because I realized I didn't know how to sustain it. So I'm busy teaching myself how to sustain it. Because we collapsed time. I knew how to collapse time to get it, but I didn't know how to create room within myself to sustain it. So I hope that will help. And if you have tips or you want to correct anything, please leave a comment below. Thank you.